When the harvesters came, on Independence Day, they came to mine the planet to get to the core so that they could take Earth's nectar and then somehow fuel their ships to go on whatever they were doing out there in outer space. When the Covenant arrived in Halo, their mission was to just annihilate the human race. Apparently, the human race was somehow offensive to their religious order, and so they just wanted to wipe everyone out. When the Demogorgon emerged from the upside down in Stranger Things, this creature, it seemed just bent on preying on everything that was alive. All of these things came to take. And yet the one we're talking about came to give. They came to terrorize, and the one we're talking about came to rescue. It says in John 10:10, the thief comes to steal and kill and destroy, but he came that they might have life and have it abundantly. Who's this visitor we're talking about? We're talking about Jesus, of course. We're talking about the one who actually, historically, there is verified evidence that he visited our planet 2,000 years ago. But unlike so many fictional aliens out there, his story was different. He came to give. He came to rescue. Who is this Jesus? Jesus is God in human flesh. And it says at the beginning of 1 John, or in the beginning of John chapter 1, it says that he was full of grace and truth. Now I want you to make a mental note of that, full of grace and truth, because that's key to what we're talking about tonight. So he became human, full of grace and truth. And as a result of his coming, John says that we received grace upon grace. In other words, we got one undeserved thing after another when Jesus came. It was just like the showering of good things. It was just spilling on us. And it was one thing after another. And God the Father loved the Son. And it says in John 3 that he gave him all things. The authority, the power, the position that Jesus had, it was unmatched by anyone. Unprecedented power. And yet, he didn't come as you would expect him to come. He didn't come looking at this world and saying, hey, there's some things that aren't done right here. I'm going to clean this up. I've got all the power. I've got all the authority. I'm going to come, bring the hammer, and get things done here. He doesn't do that. He doesn't do the expected. He does the unexpected. He doesn't bring judgment, but he brings God's goodness to the world. And he brings it to all. He brings it to young, to old. He brings it to rich, poor, male, female, those who were respected in society and those who were outcasts, those who got it together and those whose lives were an absolute mess. He came for them. Where do you fit on that spectrum? It doesn't matter. He came for you as well. And John helps us see the type of people that he came for. In John chapter 3, Jesus comes to Nicodemus. We talked about that. Oh, man, it must have been a month or two ago. Jordan came up here and talked about Jesus coming to Nicodemus. Now, Nicodemus was probably a more well-to-do man in society. He was a Pharisee, which meant he was one of these guys that tried to live the perfect life so that everyone could look at him and his fancy clothes as he walked around town, and everyone would go, whoa, he is... Man, if anyone has it together, it's that guy. And Jesus explains to Nicodemus, you think you have it all together, but Nicodemus, you need to be born again. And Nicodemus says, what? Are you crazy? Born again? How can a man go back into his mom and come out again? That's disgusting to think about, and it's physically impossible. And Jesus says, no, you don't get it. You need to be transformed. And I imagine Nicodemus saying, what are you talking about? If anyone has it together, it's me. Everyone look. And Jesus says, no. You, even you needs to be transformed. But now in our passage tonight, we talk about this woman at the well. She's like the opposite of Nicodemus. Nicodemus had it all together. People respected in society. He was a man. That meant something back then. This person is a woman, and she is a complete disaster. She's got 3 strikes against her. First of all, she's a woman. In that society, that was not a good thing. Ladies, you have it good in the society you're in today. She was a woman, so she wasn't respected. Second of all, she was a Samaritan. Now, Samaritans were hated by the Jews. They were hated by the Jews because they were half-breeds. They were Jews mixed with non-Jews. And we'll get into that a little bit more. So that was another strike against her. And the third strike against her was she had a bad track record. Not only is she a woman, not only is she a Samaritan, she was living a lifestyle, and the history of her life was just a disaster. It's a train wreck. Her life was shipwrecked. And it kind of makes you wonder, as you read this passage, and Jesus now comes to this woman. He met with a Pharisee. Okay, Pharisee, you need to clean some things up. But now he meets with this woman at the well who's just a complete train wreck. And you got to wonder, is there a line? Is there a point where Jesus came for everyone? Yeah, he came for everyone, but isn't there some type of line, Jesus, that we have to draw where you just say, okay, well, I came for most of the people in the world. Tonight I want you to notice 3 things about Jesus, and I put them all into one sentence, and they're in your notes right there. The big idea is this. Jesus, I want you to see Jesus is just amazing. Just if there was one person that you could meet in your life and just die after that, it's Jesus. If there's one most important thing that could be part of your life, it's Jesus. If there's one most precious treasure that is to be found, it's Jesus. Look at Jesus here in this big idea. Jesus pursues messy, clueless, undeserving, shipwrecked people. How does he do it? By lovingly leading them to himself, who alone is the source of eternal, satisfying life. That's a mouthful. We're going to kind of unpack it just in the next few minutes we have. Jesus pursues. That's the first thing I want to look at. What I mean when I say Jesus pursues messy, clueless, undeserving, shipwrecked people, I mean that he just doesn't sit around waiting for you to do something, and he's going to get that notification on his Facebook that said you asked to be his friend. Jesus isn't sitting around waiting for you to say, Jesus, he has a page too. I think I'll like him. I think I'll request to be his friend. He's not sitting there waiting around. Nor is Jesus sitting around watching to see who rises to the top. Who are the superstars out there? Who are the most significant people out there? And I want to be friends with them. I want to pick them. I want to recruit them for my team. Jesus isn't doing that. Instead, Jesus is, get this, he's actively seeking out people who need rescuing. He's actively seeking out people who need rescuing, people who are messy, people who are imperfect, people who have made all kinds of decisions that have hurt themselves and have hurt others, people who don't even realize that they have a need. So on his way to Galilee, Jesus passes through this place called Samaria. Samaria was the place that no Jew would ever want to go, but it was kind of hard to get around. It was kind of in the middle of Galilee and Jerusalem, Judea area, and if you wanted to go from one place to another, well, you went through Samaria. Well, why didn't people want to go there? They didn't want to go there because that's the place where these Samaritans live. Remember I said they were half-breeds? Back when the Assyrians attacked and conquered in 722 BC, they brought in foreign people into this land. And the Jews that were remaining there, well, after a while, those foreigners started looking pretty good to them, and they got married, something God told them not to do. They not only married these people and had kids with them, so now you've got these Samaritan people here, but they took some of the foreign things, the foreign aspects of their religion, and incorporated it into their Jewish belief. And so Jews looked at these Samaritans and said, "What? You're not even really Jewish here. There's some type of a mix thing that we're not cool with." And then you're not even practicing right religion. What is that thing you do over there? And that thing over here? There's something fishy about this. And the Jews despised these people. They didn't mix with them. They didn't want to associate with them. They didn't want to have anything to do with them. In fact, if they did interact with them, then the Jews felt impure and unclean, somehow dirty before their God. You know, like if you go out and you play in the dirt or the mud and you realize, I need a bath. I need a shower. That's kind of the way it was for the Jews. We just don't feel right. We're not right with God anymore because we interacted with something dirty. And so they would have loved to go around. In fact, some Jews did go around Samaria when going from Galilee to Judea or vice versa. But it was way out of the way. And so a lot of them would just kind of quickly go through Samaria and just let's get it over with. Let's not talk to anybody. We'll just kind of walk really quickly. Don't look to the right or the left. And we'll get through it. Let's not get dirty as we go through. Jesus goes through. And somehow, I don't think he has that same mindset. Rather than trying to avoid these people, he sits right down with them. So he goes into Samaria, and he's hot, and he's tired, and he's hungry. And it says he sits down next to Jacob's well. It's kind of like the Starbucks of the day, only it doesn't cost $5 for a drink. And he waits there while his disciples go and buy lunch. And as he is waiting there, a woman comes. And this is what it says. A woman from Samaria came to draw water. Jesus said to her, "Give me a drink." Sounds kind of rude at first, but it's not. Don't worry about that. He's just asking, hey, I'm at this well. I don't have anything to, lower down in and bring up water. Hey, could you, hook me up? It says his disciples gone away in the city to buy food. Samaritan woman said to him, How is it that you, a Jew, ask for a drink from me, a woman of Samaria? And then it says in parentheses, Jews have no dealings with Samaritans. Jesus asked this woman for a simple favor, right? No big deal. It's not going to cost her anything. Just slow your thing down. I'm really hot. Can you just give me a drink? And she is shocked. She's completely shocked that he would do this. Why? Well, she knows, first of all, she's a woman. And men and women back in that society, they did not mix like men and women today. It was not a cool thing. They didn't associate much with each other. In the Mishnah, which was a collection of rabbinic writings, teachings of wise religious leaders, it says this. Check this out. It says, talk not much with womankind. They said this of a man's own wife. So don't talk too much with your wife, okay? It says, how much more his fellow's wife? So don't talk too much to your own wife, Asher, but Michael's wife, make sure you don't talk with her. Don't talk with her at all. And then it says this, hence the sages have said, he that talks much with womankind brings evil upon himself and neglects the study of the law, and at the last will inherit Gehenna. This is bad news. Don't talk with women. So this woman is startled. First of all, she's startled because why is he even talking to me? He shouldn't be talking to me. Jesus could have very easily just said, hey, it's cool, just kind of gave a little nod, a little smile, like, hey, I'll wait for my disciples to bring me back some water. He could have very easily done that, but he doesn't. He breaks the rules and starts talking with her. She's a woman. Second, she's a Samaritan. We already talked about that. Third, she's alone. She's alone. Now, the well was outside the city. Women would go to the well to fetch water for their homes and stuff like that. But you don't go to the well alone. Because if you know anything about that day, the trails, the pathways from one city to another, anywhere outside the protection of the public space where there are other people there, you're in danger. There were bad guys lurking around every corner. You don't go to the well as a woman on your own because there's a good chance there's going to be someone there who's going to bring trouble upon you. So you just don't go. She went alone. That's interesting. It's also interesting that she went in the middle of the day. This is around noontime. It's hot out. Women who are going to go to the well, they go in the morning when it's cool or in the evening when it's cool. It's kind of fishy. Why is she going in the middle of the day? She's going in the middle of the day. She's going by herself. You put these things together and you begin to realize something's going on. Is she not in good with the other women in town? Is she being shunned here? Do other women in town look at her and say, "You're not coming to the well with us, honey"? Now, if we read on in verse 16, we find out there was a reason that the other woman would not want to associate with her. 3 strikes. Again, woman, Samaritan, something's fishy going on here. And Jesus starts talking with her. We find out later on, she's been married 5 times. She's been married 5 times. It was acceptable back then to be married and divorced only up to 3 times. Anything more than that was not good. And get this, Jesus points out later on as he's talking to her, the man you're with right now, not even your husband. It's not good. This person was someone that no one wanted to hang out with. No one wanted to talk with. No one wanted to be around. Have you ever felt like that? Have you ever felt like you've gone too far? Like if people knew what you know about you, if they saw your browser history, or they saw that one text thread, or they know about that thing that you said, or that thing that you did, or that thing that you thought. Have you ever thought about that and just thought, if people really knew? There are always some people that would want to hang out with us, right? We could always find someone, someone who's done something much worse than us, and we can be buddies. We're bad people together, we're going to hang, we got a gang now. It's cool. But not everyone, right? I mean, there are people who maybe are a little bit more important, or maybe church people, or maybe someone who's an authority over you, maybe a teacher, maybe the police, maybe a parent. They wouldn't approve. And you don't want them to know. Guys, we pointed out earlier that John 3:35 says, "The Father loves the Son and has given all things into his hand." If ever there was a person of importance who was way up there and you're way down here, it's Jesus. I mean, not just important, but powerful. And not just powerful, he knows everything. We learn from the book of John that he's talking with people and he knows what they're thinking even before they say something. This is Jesus. All things have been given into his hand. If ever there was a person who could have looked down on someone and pointed out their faults and written them off and talked judgment to them, it was Jesus. But he doesn't do it. Why doesn't he do it? At the beginning of this book, months ago, we said Jesus, when he came, he was full of grace and truth. That word grace, it gets thrown around a lot, especially in churches. Christians love this word grace. We probably sang about it tonight. Why do we love grace so much? It's because of what grace means. Grace means this. Grace means undeserved, unearned favor and kindness. It's a word that describes the unexpected. It describes the goodness of God that comes showering down on people who deserve to go straight to hell. That's what grace is. Isn't that good? People who deserve to go straight to hell instead are given the goodness of God. They don't deserve it. They don't expect it. It's just like, boom, goodness of God. What? Wait, I lived. This is amazing. God, you've been good to me. Jesus, we're told, was full of grace. And when he came in all his fullness, grace upon grace, more just kept coming. And it was amazing. I love John 3:17. It says this, God did not send his son into the world to condemn the world. That's what everyone expected. Everyone expected. God sends his son It's the boss sending his son to clean up the mess. He's going to wipe everyone out. He's going to knock a few heads. They're going to roll. He didn't send his son into the world to condemn the world. Man, we read this and we're just like, oh yeah, cool. This is amazing. Because if you think about the fact that you and I should have been condemned by Jesus and what that would have meant, that's a really sad sight. God did not send his son into the world to condemn the world, but in order that the world might be saved through him. No one has greater right to point the finger at anyone than Jesus, but he doesn't do that. In fact, he comes looking for you. He comes pursuing the people who are messed up, the people who are in trouble, the people who don't deserve it, the people who are totally clueless and don't even realize they're in big trouble, the people whose lives have just become a complete disaster and they've shipwrecked them. Jesus came for them. He pursues you. And not just to tell you, hey, it's okay. I just want you to know I'm delivering a message. God says it's cool. You're cool. Just come into the family. He's not telling you that. But he's coming to lead you. He's coming to lead you to himself. The woman at the well, she was shocked. Jesus, how could you speak to me? She says, how is it that you, a Jew, ask for a drink from me, a woman of Samaria? And Jesus could have said, well, any other day I wouldn't, but I'm really thirsty today. I'm kind of hot, so come on. Let's just break the rules this one time. He doesn't do that. He could have said, you know what? I'm a rule breaker, a rebel. You probably shouldn't associate with me, but I'll associate with you, baby. He doesn't say that. He doesn't say, don't question me. I'm a man. You're a woman. Be quiet and get me some water. He doesn't say that. Could have said so many different things. Look at what he says. He answered her. This is verse 10. If you knew the gift of God and who it is that is saying to you, give me a drink, you would have asked him, meaning you would have asked me. If you knew who I am, you would have asked me, and he would have given you, I would have given you living water. That's weird. He says, hey, can I have a drink? She says, wait, why are you asking me for a drink? He's like, if you knew who I am, if you really knew who I am, you'd be asking me for water. She goes, what? There's no doubt Jesus was thirsty. It was the middle of the day. He had traveled far on foot in the hot sun. He's thirsty. And man, you know what it's like to be thirsty, right? I mean, really thirsty. Not just like, I need boba or I need a Coke or I need, Starbucks or something like that. This is like when you're desperately thirsty. You've been out on the field and it's like a 110-degree day and it's humid out there and you're just like dying for water. That's all you can think about. Jesus is thirsty, but what is he thinking about? He's thinking about this woman's thirst problem. He's thirsty. He asks for water. She replies, shocked, and he says, let's talk about your thirst, actually. Let's talk about what's going on with you. And the amazing thing is, he says, you'd be asking me for living water, and then she doesn't get it. She doesn't get it at all. The woman says to him, sir, you don't have anything to draw water with. You're sitting here next to this hole in the ground where there's water 100 feet down below. How are you going to get me water? You have nothing to draw water with, and the well is deep. Where do you get that living water? She's clueless. But the amazing thing about Jesus is, if you go through this whole passage, you start seeing this woman doesn't get it again and again and again, and you see Jesus just being patient. And she starts talking about, well, maybe we should worship over here or this, and I think you're a prophet, and she's kind of scatterbrained, going all over the place, and Jesus just kind of rides with her and keeps pointing her, leading her once again. Come back. Let's talk about living water. Let's talk about me. Because I'm what you need. This is Jesus. He's pursuing the people who have no hope. And he's lovingly leading them to himself. Come to me. I'm the one you need. Jesus is so good. We walk through life and we do so many stupid things. We do dumb things all the time. We get distracted by things we shouldn't be distracted by. Oh, that's so cool. When Jesus is what we needed all along. We make excuses for our bad behavior. We do something stupid, mean to others, and we're like, yeah, well, they deserved it. Or I had a bad day, or I was thirsty. Whatever. We make up all these excuses, do all these horrible things, and Jesus seeks to lovingly lead you back to himself. He's patient with you. He doesn't just go, Isaac, we're done here. Bzz. He doesn't do that. Patiently leading you back to himself. Why? Why does he want to bring you to himself? Last point. Because he is the source of eternal, satisfying life. See, Jesus could have pointed you to, he could have pointed her to, there's in a couple thousand years, there's going to be a Starbucks right around the corner, and you can get an iced latte, and it's going to be sweet. He could have pointed to, there's another well down the street that has some cooler, fresher water, one that the camels didn't spit in. Maybe you should, there's some good water. He doesn't do that. He says, it's me. It's me. Check out what he says. Women argued with him, and then he says this, everyone who drinks of this water, the water in this well, will be thirsty again. You can drink out of this water, and you know what? You're going to have to come back to this well tomorrow because you're going to run out of water and you're going to be thirsty again. You got to come back. He says, but whoever drinks of the water that I will give him will never be thirsty again. The water that I will give him will become in him a spring of water welling up to eternal life. Samaria was a lot like where we live. It was kind of arid. It was hot. It was dry. Water was a big deal. And if you didn't have enough water or you ran out of water, you were in serious trouble. It was a really important thing. So when Jesus mentions this woman, I have special water that's never going to run out, her ears must have just perked up like, what? What? Water is really important to me. Where do I get this water? How do I find it? And we know Jesus isn't talking about the water you drink, right? He's not just talking about H2O. He's talking about a type of water that only God can give. See, all of us were created to have this special relationship with God. You know that. You're designed to be in fellowship, in relationship, connection with him. And if God is taken out of the picture, then you are missing something vitally important to your life, vitally important for your thriving. It's essential to your existence. You're kind of like in Jurassic Park 1, the lysine contingency. You know that? Where the dinosaurs, they designed them to, they genetically, it was Dr. Henry Wu. He genetically engineered these dinosaurs so that they wouldn't produce lysine, something they need to survive. And so the deal was that they would put lysine in the dinosaurs' food so that they could live. But if ever they decide these dinosaurs are out of control, we're going to stop feeding them the lysine, and then they're all going to die, and they're going to be in big trouble, right? Lysine was super important, and in the same way, it is vitally important for humanity that God be part of their existence. You take God out of the picture, and humanity knows it's missing something. That's the reality, right? People know they're missing something. Your friends at school, they know that they want something more than they really are. They need something outside of themselves. They're not complete in and of themselves. So they're looking all around, trying to see, what is it that I can put in my life that's going to fill this emptiness that I have inside? And apparently this woman at the well, we know how she tried to fill her life, right? She tried to fill her life with romance. And so she looked to one guy. She married one guy. Thought, oh, yes. Oh, this is going to be bliss. I saw that Disney flick. Oh, it's going to be wonderful. Even if I fall into a deep sleep, he's going to kiss me, and it's true love's kiss. We're going to wake up and live happily ever after. Marriage falls apart. We don't know the details. We don't know if there was abuse. We don't know what that husband was like. Falls apart. Heartache. She gets married again. Heartache. Happens again and again and again. 5 times. Woman who gets married 5 times. Do you think she needs something? I'm missing something in my life. If I just find the right guy. But then she comes to that point after the 5th marriage where she realizes this whole marriage thing, it's just like, I might as well not even marry this last guy because it's probably not going to last. She realized something's missing in my life. And people you know that they're missing stuff. Do you know that you're missing stuff? And what is it that you're searching for to fill it? Sad reality is, just like this woman, there's nothing. There is nothing that is going to satisfy us, people. The other day I was driving on the freeway and this gleaming white, brand new Beamer passed me. And the back license plate was said SUC, and then I thought is that spelling sucks? And it was SUCCSS. I was like, oh, no. Success. And I pulled up alongside this guy and I looked over. He's like, young guy, clean cut, well-tailored suit, and he's driving his Beamer, and he's just like window down, arm out. And then he's just like, I'm just thinking, man, this guy thinks he found it. Success. He thinks he is a success. He thinks he made it. He thinks he arrived, man. And looking at him, all the people on the freeway are probably like, yeah, dude, I could be like that guy. And I was thinking, as I was looking at him, I was thinking of the guy Jesus talks about who had a bumper crop year and built big barns and sat back and called all the people together and said, hey, let's party. I got all I could ever want, more money than I could ever dream of. Let's eat, drink, and be merry. At the end of Jesus' story, God says, fool, this very night your life is going to be taken from you. What do you got then? I thought about that guy in the car. He may have made it. He looked like a success to me. He might have everything he wants. But in the end, he's going to find out it's empty. And it's all going to be taken away. And he's going to find that the thing he needed most is the thing that he never found. Jesus is the only source of eternal, satisfying life. Jesus calls it living water. Why does he call it living water? Well, I think because the Old Testament talks about what God has to give as living water. It talks about it a lot. Listen to this, Jeremiah 2. It's up on the screen. Has a nation changed its gods, even though there are no gods? But my people have changed their glory for that which does not profit. Hold on here, just kind of track with this. You're going to start seeing what's going on. He says, be appalled, O heavens, at this. Be shocked, be utterly desolate, declares the Lord. For my people have committed two evils. One, they have forsaken me, the fountain of living waters. Two, they hewed out cisterns for themselves, broken cisterns. They can hold no water. God says this. Here's what's happening. My people, they had me. They had this glorious, wonderful relationship with me. He says, you heavens, you stars in the sky, the moon up there, the sky, the clouds, you look down on this people who has traded me everything that they could have ever wanted. They traded me the source of living water, and they built for themselves these bowls to catch the morning dew. And they realized later on that the bowls that they built that start collecting a little bit of water are cracked. And the water just leaks right out. That's us, people. That's us when we look to anything other than Jesus to satisfy us. I love what D.A. Carson, a really smart Bible thinker, explains it this way. He says, they have rejected the fresh, running supply of God and his faithful goodness, choosing instead the stagnant waters of cisterns they themselves prepared, discovering even then that their cisterns were cracked and leaving them with nothing to sustain life and blessing. Is that where you're at today? Have you been searching, looking for something that is going to fill the void in your life that's not going to satisfy? If you're trying to fill your life with anything other than Jesus, you're going to end up disappointed. You're going to end up wasting your time. Be blown away at who Jesus is. He pursues messy, clueless, undeserving, shipwrecked people by lovingly leading them to himself, patiently leading them to himself, who alone is the source of eternal, satisfying life. He's calling you to himself. Isaiah 55:1 says, "Come, everyone who thirsts, come to the waters, and he who has no money, come buy and eat. Come and buy wine and milk without money and without price. Why do you spend your money on that which is not bread, and you labor for that which does not satisfy? Listen diligently to me. Eat what is good and delight yourself in rich food." God says, why are you wasting you're making all this money, you're spending all this money on things that are never going to satisfy. Come to me and buy what I have. It doesn't cost any money, and it's going to be so satisfying. The woman's response was, in verse 15, "Sir, give me this water so that I will not be thirsty or have to come here to draw water." What do you say? Let's pray.